Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So last week we continued with our narration of the exciting story of the Syamantaka jewel, and it continues today. We have some more episodes. Last week we heard how after so many days the residents of Dwaraka, who accompanied Krishna to the cave, and Krishna told them to wait outside. After so many days, when Krishna did not come out, they returned to Dwaraka. But then, all of a sudden, Krishna came back to Dwaraka, and he had brought with him the Syamantaka jewel, and he brought with him his second wife, Jambavati. The jewel and Jambavati were given by Jambavan. Then we heard how Satrajit felt very bad that he had unnecessarily accused Krishna of stealing the Syamantaka jewel. And so Satrajit had to figure out some way to save face. He felt ashamed of how he behaved. So he decided that the only way to rectify his reputation would be to offer his own daughter to Krishna in marriage. Many people had already approached Satrajit for the hand of the beautiful Satyabhama, but Satrajit was waiting for just the right person. Now to Satrajit, this moment had arrived. So Satrajit gave his daughter Satyabhama to Krishna in marriage. Then we heard how Krishna and Balaram had been hearing a rumor that the Pandavas had died. So Balaram and Krishna decided to go to Hastinapur to see what is actually going on. Now, of course, Krishna and Balaram, being God, they already knew the truth. But as part of the Leela, and also to give support to the family, Krishna and Balaram decided to go to Hastinapur. So that takes us up to today's episodes. Hopefully we will cover 3 episodes. So this first one is called The Conspiracy. When Krishna and Balaram were away from the city of Dwaraka, there was a conspiracy to take the Syamantaka jewel away from Satrajit. The chief conspirator was Shatadanva, who was among those who had wanted to marry Satyabhama, Satrajit's beautiful daughter. Shatadanva was basically evil-minded and was also a firm hater of Satrajit. Satrajit had promised that he would give his beautiful daughter, Satyabhama, in charity to various candidates. But later the decision was changed, and Satyabhama was given to Krishna along with the Syamantaka jewel. In actuality, Satrajit had no desire to give the jewel away with his daughter, and Krishna, knowing Satrajit's real mentality, accepted Satrajit's daughter but returned the jewel. After getting back the jewel from Krishna, Satrajit was satisfied and he kept the jewel with him always. But in the absence of Krishna and Balaram, there was a conspiracy by many men, including even Akrura and Kritavarma, who were devotees of Lord Krishna, to take the jewel from Satyajit. Akrura and Kritavarma joined the conspiracy because they wanted the Shamantaka jewel for Krishna. They thought that Krishna wanted the jewel, but that Satyajit had not delivered it properly. Others also joined the conspiracy because they were also disappointed in not getting the hand of Satyabhama. Some of them even incited Shatadhanva to kill Satyajit and take away the jewel. In fact, Akrura and Kritavarma flattered Shatadhanva, telling him, "Oh, you are so much braver than we are, so you should kill Satyajit." Now the question is generally raised, why did a great devotee like Akrura join this conspiracy? And why did Kritavarma, although a devotee of the Lord, also join the conspiracy? The answer given by great authorities like Jiva Goswami is that although Akrura was a great devotee, Akrura was cursed by the inhabitants of Vrindavan, especially the gopis, because of having taken Krishna away from their midst back when Akrura was deputed by Kamsa to bring Krishna and Balaram to Mathura for the sacrifice of the bow and the wrestling match. So because of wounding their feelings, Akrura was forced to join the conspiracy declared by sinful men. Similarly, Kritavarma was a devotee, but because of association with Kamsa, Kritavarma was contaminated by sinful reactions. And so Kritavarma also joined the conspiracy. So I'm going to stop here and just make a comment, a personal comment. This incident here, that although Kritavarma was a devotee, he became contaminated because of intimate association with Kamsa. So this reminds us of an important instruction of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Asat Sangha Tyag. Devotees, serious devotees, must give up the association of demons, non-devotees, those who do not have any connection with Krishna consciousness. Because a human being is a social animal. And whoever and whatever we associate with, we are going to become influenced by those qualities. We learned in the Bhagavad Gita that depending on how one associates with the modes of nature, various symptoms and qualities develop. So Lord Chaitanya makes this a very important principle of his teachings, that as devotees, we have to be very careful, very selective of who we have intimate association with. We have association with so many people, and those of you who are working and living in the material world, you are forced to associate. You're forced just by the very nature of working a job in the material world. You are forced to associate with demons, non-devotees, fools, and rascals. So there's an expression that Prabhupada sometimes used to say, catch the fish without getting wet. So it is a warning that we have to be very, very careful of who and what we associate with, because we are going to become influenced. All right, let's get back to the story. Similarly, Kritavarma was a devotee, but because of intimate association with Kamsa, Kritavarma was contaminated by sinful reactions, and so Kritavarma also joined the conspiracy. So, being inspired by all the members of the conspiracy, Shatadhanva one night entered the house of Satyajit and killed him while he was sleeping. Shatadhanva was a sinful man of abominable character. And although due to his sinful activities, Shatadhanva was not to live for many days, Shatadhanva decided to kill Satyajit while Satyajit was sleeping at his home. When Shatadhanva entered the house to kill Satyajit, all the women cried very loudly. But in spite of their great protests, Shatadhanva mercilessly butchered Satyajit without hesitation, exactly as a butcher kills an animal in the slaughterhouse. Since Krishna was absent from home, having went to Hastinapur, Krishna's wife Satyabhama was also present the night Satyajit was murdered. And she began to cry out, "Oh, my dear father, how mercilessly you have been killed." The dead body of Satyajit was not immediately removed for cremation because Satyabhama wanted to go to Krishna in Hastinapur. Therefore, the body was preserved in a tank of oil so that Krishna could come back and see the dead body of Satyajit and then take real action against Shatadhanva. Satyabhama immediately started for Hastinapur just to inform Krishna about the ghastly death of her father. And when Krishna was informed by Satyabhama of the murder of his father-in-law, Krishna began to lament just like an ordinary man. Krishna's great sorrow is once again a strange thing, for Lord Krishna himself has nothing to do with action and reaction. But because Krishna was playing the part of a human being, Krishna expressed his full sympathy for the bereavement of Satyabhama. And Krishna's eyes filled with tears when he heard about the death of Satyajit. Krishna thus began to lament, "Oh, what unhappy incidents have taken place." Then Krishna and Balaram, along with Satyabhama, immediately returned to Dwaraka and began to make plans how to kill Shatadhanva and take away the jewel. Although he was a great outlaw in the city, Shatadhanva was still very much afraid of Krishna's power. And thus, when Krishna arrived, Shatadhanva became most afraid. Understanding Krishna's plan to kill him, Shatadhanva immediately went to take shelter of Kritavarma. But Kritavarma said, "Oh, no. I shall never be able to offend Lord Krishna and Balaram, for they are not ordinary persons. Krishna and Balaram are themselves the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who can be saved from death if one has offended Balaram and Krishna? No one can be saved from their wrath." Kritavarma further said that Kamsa, although powerful and assisted by many demons, could also not be saved from Krishna's wrath. And what to speak of Jarasandha, who had been defeated by Krishna 17 times, and each time had to return from the fighting in disappointment. When Shatadhanva was refused help by Kritavarma, he then went to Akrura, imploring him to help. But Akrura also replied, Balaram and Krishna are themselves the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and anyone who knows their unlimited strength would never dare offend them or even fight with them. Akrura further informed Shatadhanva, Krishna and Balaram are so powerful that simply by willing they create, maintain, and dissolve the whole cosmic manifestation. Unfortunately, persons bewildered by the illusory energy cannot understand the strength of Krishna, although the whole cosmic manifestation is fully under Krishna's control. That last statement by Akrura is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Mayad yakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanena kaunteya jagad viparivartate. Akrura cited as an example that even at the age of 7, Krishna had lifted Govardhan Hill and continued to hold up Govardhan Hill for 7 days, just like a child carries a small umbrella. Akrura plainly informed Shatadhanva that he would always offer his most respectful obeisances to Krishna, who is the super soul of everything created and the original cause of all causes. So when Akrura also refused to give him shelter, Shatadhanva decided to deliver to the hands of Akrura the Syamantaka jewel. Shatadhanva now believed the jewel was his. Thus he was leaving it in the care of his friend. In blunt terms, this is the mentality of a thief. Then, riding on a horse which could run at great speed and up to 400 miles at a stretch, Shatadhanva fled the city of Dwaraka. So one thing I want to mention here, that Akrura pointed out that Krishna is the super soul of everything. So recently I was asked to explain something, and so for the benefit of all the Krishna book students, I'd like to spend some time explaining that actually there are 3 super souls. So we all know that we have Krishna in our heart, that we learned from Bhagavad Gita, and that is called Paramatma. So that is the super soul localized in the heart of every living entity, and actually according to the Brahma Samhita, even in the atom. So in this way, Paramatma is localized and all-pervasive at the same time. But then there's another super soul, a universal super soul, known as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Every material universe, because there are unlimited material universes, meaning unlimited meaning you can't count. That's the meaning of unlimited. So many you can't count. So every universe has a Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. So he's the universal super soul, and we all know that from the navel of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, Brahma appears. So that happens in every material universe. But Garbhodakashayi Vishnu has a cause, and that cause is Mahavishnu, who is the super soul of the entire material cosmic creation. not just one universe. All the material universes are emanating from Mahavishnu. So Mahavishnu is the super soul, and Garbhodakashayi Vishnu is super soul, and Shirodakashayi Vishnu is your personal super soul. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this next episode is called Revenge. So when Krishna and Balaram were informed of the flight of Shatadhanva, they mounted their chariot with its flag marked by a picture of Garuda and followed immediately. Krishna was particularly angry with Shatadhanva and wanted to kill him because Shatadhanva had killed Satrajit, who was a superior personality. And Satrajit happened to be the father-in-law of Krishna. And it is the injunction of the Shastras that one who is a Guru Druha, one who has rebelled against a superior person, must be punished in proportion to the severity of the offense. Because Shatadhanva had killed Krishna's father-in-law, Krishna was determined to kill Shatadhanva by any means. Shatadhanva's horse soon became exhausted and died near a garden house in Mithila. Unable to take help of the horse, Shatadhanva began to run with great speed. In order to be fair to Shatadhanva, Krishna and Balaram also got down from their chariot and began to follow Shatadhanva on foot. And while Shatadhanva and Krishna were running, Krishna took his Sudarshan Chakra and cut off Shatadhanva's head. And after Shatadhanva was killed, Krishna searched through his clothing looking for the Syamantaka jewel, but Krishna could not find it. Krishna then returned to Balaram and said, It appears that we have killed this person uselessly, for the jewel is not to be found on his body. Krishna's elder brother, Sri Balaram, then suggested, yes, the jewel might have been kept in the custody of another man in Dwaraka, and so you'd better return and search it out. However, Balaram then expressed his desire to remain in Mithila city for some days because Balaram enjoyed an intimate friendship with the king. Therefore, Krishna returned to Dwaraka and Balaram entered the city of Mithila. So you might be asking yourself, well, shouldn't Krishna and Balaram have known about this? Yes. Krishna and Balaram can know about this. They do know about it. But in terms of the Leela, the pastime, sometimes Krishna plays like this, as was already mentioned, like an ordinary human being, and plays out as if he doesn't know. So that's the understanding. So we now go to our final episode for today, but don't worry, this Leela is not over just yet. So let's see. So this one is called Krishna Returns to Dwaraka. When the king of Mithila saw the arrival of Sri Balaram in his city, King Videha was most pleased and received Balaram with great honor and hospitality. King Videha gave many valuable presents to Balaramaji in order to seek his pleasure. At this time, Sri Balaram lived in the city for several years as the honored guest of the king of Mithila. And during this time, Duryodhana, the eldest son of Dhritarashtra, took the opportunity to come to Balaram and learn from him the art of fighting with a club. So now you can see how different things are being set up in the future. How Balaram is there in Mithila, and at this time, Duryodhana learns the art of club fighting, which you all know, because you all know the Mahabharata better than me. You know how that plays out in the final episodes of the Mahabharata, when Duryodhana and Bhima fight to death. Meanwhile, after killing Shatadhanva, Krishna returned to Dwaraka, and in order to please his wife Satyabhama, Krishna informed Satyabhama of the death of Shatadhanva, the killer of her father. But Krishna also informed Satyabhama that the jewel had not been found in Shatadhanva's possession. Then, according to religious principles, Krishna, along with Satyabhama, performed ceremonies in honor of Krishna's departed father-in-law, Satyajit. In those ceremonies, all the friends and relatives of the family joined together. Akrura and Kritavarma were prominent members in the conspiracy to kill Satyajit, having incited Shatadhanva to kill Satyajit. So when Akrura and Kritavarma heard of the death of Shatadhanva at the hands of Krishna, and when Akrura and Kritavarma also learned that Krishna had now returned to Dwarka, both of them immediately left the city of Dwaraka. Akrura took the Syamantaka jewel and then went to reside in the city of Benares, where he became known as Dhanapati, or Master of Charity. There, Akrura executed fire sacrifices on gold altars with elaborate assemblies of qualified priests. When the citizens of Dwaraka heard about this, some of them gossiped that Krishna, considering Akrura a rival, had sent Akrura into exile. So to dispel this new and incredible stain on his reputation, Lord Krishna created various calamities in Dwaraka, thus inducing the citizens to call for Akrura's return, which Krishna then ordered. Now the citizens of Dwaraka were feeling themselves threatened with pestilence and natural disturbances due to the absence of Akrura from the city of Dwaraka. There was a kind of superstition because, while Lord Krishna was present, there could not be any pestilence, famine, or natural disturbances. But in the absence of Akrura, apparently there were some disturbances in Dwaraka. This superstition arose for the following reason. Once in the past, in the province of Kashi, or Varanasi, or Benares, there was a severe drought. Practically no rain fell. And at that time, the king of Kashi arranged the marriage of his daughter, known as Gandhani, with Shvapalka, who was the father of Akrura. This was done by the king of Kashi on the advice of an astrologer. And actually it so happened that after the marriage of the king's daughter with Shvapalka, there was sufficient rainfall in the province. Due to this supernatural power of Shvapoka, his son Akrura was also considered equally powerful, and people were under the impression that wherever Akrura or his father stayed, there would be no natural disturbances, such as famine or drought. That kingdom is considered happy where there is no famine, pestilence, or excessive heat and cold, and where people are happy mentally, spiritually, and physically. As soon as there was some disturbance in Dwaraka, people considered the cause to be the absence of an auspicious personality in the city of Dwaraka. Thus, there was a rumor that because of the absence of Akrura, inauspicious things were happening. After the departure of Akrura, some of the elder residents of the city also began perceiving inauspicious signs due to the absence of the Syamantaka jewel. So when Lord Sri Krishna heard these rumors being spread by the people, Krishna decided to summon Akrura from the kingdom of Kashi. Akrura was Krishna's uncle. Therefore, when Akrura did not come back to Dwaraka, Lord Krishna first of all gave Akrura a welcome. When Akrura did come back, let me go back over that. Akrura was Krishna's uncle. Therefore, when Akrura did come back to Dwaraka, Lord Krishna first of all gave Akrura a welcome befitting a superior person. Krishna is the super soul in everyone and knows everything going on in everyone's heart. Krishna knew everything that had happened in connection with Akrura's conspiracy with Shatadhanva. So here, what I just said earlier is confirmed by Prabhupada. Krishna knew everything that had happened in connection with Akrura's conspiracy with Shatadhanva. Therefore, Krishna smilingly began to speak to Akrura. He addressed Akrura as chief among munificent men. My dear uncle, it is already known to me that the Syamantaka jewel was left with you by Shatadhanva. Presently, there is no direct claimant of the Syamantaka jewel, for King Satyajit himself has no male son. Satyajit's daughter, Satyabhama, is not very eager for this jewel, yet her expected son, being the grandson of Satyajit, would, after performing the regulative principles of inheritance, he would be the legal claimant of the jewel. In this way, Lord Krishna indicated that Satyabhama was already pregnant and that her son would be the real claimant of the jewel and would certainly take the jewel from Akrura. Krishna then said, "This jewel is so powerful that no ordinary man is able to keep it. Akrura, I know that you are very pious in your activities, so there is no objection to the jewel being kept with you. However, there is one difficulty, and that is my elder brother, Sri Balaram, does not believe my version that the jewel is with you. I therefore request you, O large-hearted one, to show me the jewel just once before my other relatives, so that they may be pacified and reject various kinds of rumors. Akruraji, you cannot deny that the jewel is with you, because we can understand that you have enhanced your opulence and you are performing sacrifices on an altar made of solid gold. The properties of the jewel were well known, for wherever the jewel remained, it would produce for the keeper more than 2 mounds of pure gold daily. And the Akrura was getting gold in that proportion and distributing it profusely at sacrificial performances. Lord Krishna cited Akruras lavishly spending gold as positive evidence of Akrura possessing the Syamantaka jewel. When Lord Krishna, in friendly terms and sweet language, impressed Akrura about the real facts, and Akrura could now understand that nothing could be concealed from the knowledge of Sri Krishna, Akrura brought out the valuable jewel, which was covered by cloth but shining like the sun, and presented it before Krishna. Lord Krishna took the Syamantaka jewel in his hand and showed it to all his relatives and friends present. And then the jewel he returned to Akrura in their presence, so that they know now that the jewel was actually being kept by Akrura in Dwaraka city. So now, for the second time, doubts about Krishna's reputation, occasioned by the Syamantaka jewel, were dispelled by the jewel itself. Indeed, for the second time, Krishna brought the jewel to Dwaraka in order to establish his integrity. This amazing series of incidents demonstrates that even Lord Krishna, that when Lord Krishna descends to this world, there is a tendency for his peers to criticize him. But when the Lord comes to earth, his pastimes resemble those of human beings. Thus, the principle of familiarity breeds contempt comes into play. The whole material world is infected by the fault-finding propensity. And in this chapter, the Supreme Lord demonstrates the nature of this undesirable quality. The story of the Syamantaka jewel is very significant. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that anyone who hears this story of the Syamantaka jewel, or describes it, or simply remembers it, will be free from all kinds of defamation and the reactions of all impious activities, and thus will attain the highest perfectional condition of peace. So that ends, after 3 sessions, the whole story of the Syamantaka jewel. And what is so nice about this Krishna book, that from time to time we get blessings from Shukadeva Goswami, because it is this is his comment, his purport to Maharaj Parikshit, that anyone who hears the story or describes it or remembers it will be free from all kinds of defamation and the reactions of all impious activities. So there is great benefit in attending these classes every week and not missing it for any reason, because you never know when you're going to get a benediction like we got today. And the last thing I want to mention is this statement where it said the whole material world is infected by the fault-finding propensity. This is so true, and it has been true, and it's demonstrated both in the material world, in every aspect, and also we see that this also can happen in spiritual institutions and temples. Yes. So, Prabhupada here, this demonstrates the nature of this undesirable quality. So we should check ourselves. Do I have that fault-finding propensity? If you have a fault-finding propensity for yourself, that is very good. But to have a fault-finding mentality on others, not good. Not good. It does not help your spiritual life. But if you are constantly looking at your own mirror, so to speak, you look in the mirror and you recognize, yes, Narantara, I see you have this, Narantara. I look in the mirror and I accuse myself. Yes, you do like this. So that's good. That means rectification. Especially on days like yesterday, Ekadasi, and today, Dwadasi, reflections, deep reflections come about. And today also, Krishna was sending me text messages. Change this, stop this, don't do this. So, we have to be very, very careful with this fault-finding mentality, because we are only hurting ourselves. So as devotees, we simply want to be the well-wisher of all living entities. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.